Hi, and welcome to another episode of Mead Tasters, where this week we're tasting Sap House Meadery's Hey Jealousy, which is a traditional mead aged in a gin barrel. Thanks for joining me again at Mead Tasters, and this week I have with me my lovely wife, Alicia. And she has a lot of experience drinking mead because I force it upon her, basically, the mead that I make at home. But I'm really glad that she's here with me to taste this gin barrel aged mead. She's a fan of gin, so she'll be able to do a good job of giving her take on this mead. And this is, again, from Sap House Meadery. This is the last mead I have of this series. Tasting Sap House's meads and ash fishbines, and this one is actually a very strong mead. It's a 15.6% alcohol by volume, and it's a 7.5 out of 10 on the sweetness level. So it's a more on the sweeter side of things, and it's a special kind of a special edition. It's a small batch. Barrel fermented, not barrel fermented, but barrel aged. And this is New England honey. It's a Wildflower honey. So it's a traditional mead, which is just basically honey, water, and yeast. And once that's finished, then it's transferred into a used gin barrel. And it's left to sit there and age for 10 months. And after that, he takes it out and bottles it up and presents it to you. So you can find this mead at saphousemeadery.com. And I encourage you to go there and try it. As well as any of his other amazing meads that he's had. And if you haven't seen the other videos of my tastings of those, definitely check them out. This is really high quality stuff here. So, Alicia, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure to have you. And you like gin, so we'll see what you think of this. Yeah. So, Hey Jealousy is play off of the song that was put out back in 1989, if you can believe it.
Are you kidding me?
Gin Blossoms.
Wow.
And,
1989?
1989, yep. It was a favorite of mine as a teenager, actually. But, yeah, so, like I said, play off of the name of the band that wrote the song Hey Jealousy, Gin Blossoms. And this is aged in a gin barrel where he took his traditional mead, honey, water, and yeast, fermented that out, and then transferred it over into a gin barrel that was given to him or he purchased from a gin maker. So we'll go ahead and start out by checking out the aroma and taking a sniff and see what we get out of this.
I definitely get the gin. I smell gin.
Yeah. What's your take on the honey?
I smell honey.
Yeah, I get a ton of honey out of this. I get this really rich, this richness out of the honey. A little bit of earthiness, but not like dank mushroomy earthiness. Just like a deep richness to it, and that jumps out at me. And juniper flavor, which is where gin gets its predominant flavor and aroma from. That's definitely there. It's really strong. It's strong. I'm also getting a lot of vanilla.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're getting that. We've let this sit for a little while, and the air, it's kind of opened up to the air, and the longer it sits, the more vanilla I get, and that could very well be because we know it's barrel aged, so it's been sitting in oak. And one of the things oak brings to wine and meads is vanillin, which is vanilla flavor. So vanilla beans have vanillin, and oak has vanillin in it and can release that into the mead. So I'm betting that is where that's coming from because there's no indication from Sap House and Ash that vanilla beans were used. So you definitely can get it from the oak barrel.
Smells really good.
It does. It smells amazing, actually. It's there's some citrus going on there. I'm getting like an orange blossomy type citrus.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not uncommon in gin,
Mm-hmm.
to have
Right.
that citrus
Mm-hmm.
factor. I'm also getting a tiny little bit of anise or licorice type flavor, a little bit of that spice. Not a lot, but a little bit. A little bit of raisin.
I don't get any of that.
Not getting any of that. That's okay. There's no right or wrong. It's just what you
Pick up.
what you're finding. So I also get just a tiny little hint of cinnamon, and I don't know. I could be confusing that with the spice, with the anise, but I do sense a little bit of cinnamon there.
I can smell a little cinnamon. Mm-hmm. Gin and honey.
Gin and honey, definitely alcohol.
Yep, I smell alcohol.
Smell the alcohol on here. It's
Yep.
boozy. It's boozy. It's not bad though. It's not offensive. It's just there. I mean, and that's to be expected in a 15+% alcohol. So, so no big deal there. You would almost expect that. One other thing I'm getting out of this is with that vanilla, I'm getting kind of a caramel butterscotch. Again, not a lot, but it kind of is riding with the vanilla. I don't know. Buttery. I get this buttery smell to it.
It's pretty.
And
It
it's
looks
nice.
buttery.
I mean,
It looks caramelly and buttery.
it's not like buttery. It's like a butterscotch buttery. More of like a caramel. So to look at this, it's very beautiful in the glass. It's a very strong golden honey color. It's very clear. It looks to me like it's been filtered. That's how clear it is. If you put it up to a piece of white paper, you could see absolutely everything right through it. So very enjoyable to look at. Which this is a wine style mead. So you would expect to not have any kind of cloudiness or sediment. You would want to have a beautiful, clear looking mead in your glass, and it's definitely that. So kudos to the, I would say, 9.5 out of 10 for clarity, if not a little bit higher than that. So looking at the legs, we see that there are copious amounts of legs.
It's almost like drips of honey, don't you think? Like in there.
Yeah, and tiers, legs, curtains. So basically, the more alcohol you have, the more tiers you're going to have with with higher alcohols, and that's just because it's all about alcohol. It's not about the amount of sugar, the body, and all that. It's really got everything to do with alcohol. It's also not carbonated. It's a still wine style, like we said. And last, let's go ahead and give it a taste. What do you say?
I'm ready.
Cheers.
Cheers. So good. So honey.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of honey.
It's bursting with honey. Very sweet. Sweet, rich, slightly earthy honey, just like in the aroma.
It's spritey. It's.
Yeah, even though it's sweet, you do get that kind of spritey tartness to it. And I would suspect that's the acid that's in the honey, and it could be, in the mead. It could be the naturally occurring acid from honey. Predominantly gluconic acid, or Ash could have added acid to the mead to help balance out the sweetness, because it is a sweet mead.
But it's not overly sweet.
No, and
it's sweet without being like desserty sweet.
Right, I agree. It's just the right amount of sweet, I would say. But too much sweetness you can get a kind of a flabbiness, lifelessness to it, and you know, a little bit of acid will give it some backbone, some structure that kind of lifts it up a little bit, and that's what you're definitely getting that here.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's not cloyingly sweet, it's not flabby or soft. It's definitely got some structure to it. So, and then
I don't taste gin.
you know, it's definitely less pronounced
Yep.
than in the aroma.
The smell is very gin strong. The taste is very honey strong.
So that's okay because honestly, this is not supposed to be a gin mead per se. This is a traditional mead, which just means honey, water, and yeast, and or show mead in other words, with just honey, water, and yeast, and it's aged in a gin barrel. So what that means is that this barrel that the honey is aged in had gin in it at one time, and then the gin finished, and they bottled their gin, whoever made it, and you know, sold it, and then they either sold or gave this barrel to Ash at Sap House, and then he took his traditional mead that he made, and he then filled up this empty barrel that had gin in it last with his mead. And so because it was used to hold gin in it previously, that there's going to be some residual gin flavor in the wood inside the barrel that is going to leach into the mead. And but it's not meant to make it a gin mead. It's not supposed to be a strong gin mead. So the flavors are much more subtle than the aromatics that we got. We got more of that juniper and the citrus and spice in the aromatics, but it's still there. It's just less pronounced, and I think it's very complementary to the honey. You know, it's definitely honey dominant, which a traditional mead is supposed to be. And like I said, this New England Wildflower is very rich and slightly earthy, very delicious.
It's really, really good.
So the body is on the heavier side, and I think that's because of the sweetness. So if you think of body, you think of like milk. So so body and mouthfeel go together, and you think of milk. If you have skim milk, that's a light body. If you have like 2%, that's a medium body and mouthfeel. And if you have full on fat milk, then that's a heavy body and mouthfeel.
This is a whole milk.
This is a whole milk. Yes, exactly, exactly.
It's very full in your mouth.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you know, it's got even though it's sweet, it's got a drying element to it. And you know, where it's a slight pucker. It's not offensive by any means. It's actually very pleasant and actually adds to the balance of this meat. It's desirable, and that would be from tannins that come from the oak that it was sitting in.
Okay.
So
it gives it that spritey feeling.
Well, it helps contribute to that. That would be more from the acid in there to give it that spritey tartness structure. But tannins also add to structure as well, and it's through more of an astringent, puckery dryingness.
This has that,
and that helps balance out the sweetness as well as the acid does. So overall, very well balanced mead. Excellent. The alcohol on this is warm, I would say. It's not hot, but it's definitely present.
Yeah, it's there.
You know, that makes sense. I mean, for 15+% mead, that's a strong mead. So you would expect it to be there, and it is definitely warm, but it's a pleasant warm.
Right, it's drinkable. It's not like you're drinking gin or any.
It's smooth.
Yeah.
For 15%.
Right, absolutely.
It's absolutely smooth.
Right.
So, in a nutshell, I would say that this is a fantastic connoisseur type honey wine. It's a mead, but it's in a wine style. So sometimes they're referred to as honey wines, but it's mead. but wine style, connoisseur, small batch, as it says on here.
It's a cool label too.
Yeah, yeah. So if you've noticed in the previous videos, they have their own unique labels, but the barrel aged, which there's a handful of barrel aged meads that you can see on the website. They Ash uses this particular type of label, which is it's very unique and pretty cool, and just adds to the small batch handcrafted feel and flair to it. So go to saphousemeadery.com and check out the Hey Jealousy. You can order it and have it shipped directly to your door. And it's like I said, it's an amazing sipping mead that's connoisseur quality that you would be extremely proud to share with close friends and family who can appreciate fine wine.